Welcome to Amy's Table. Today I'm talking with career strategist Julie Bauke. Julie spent decades helping people find work that fits not just their skills, but who they are. We're exploring career pivots, purpose, and how to know when it's time to make a change. If you've ever wondered whether your work still fits the life you want to build, this conversation is for you. This is Amy's Table. Pull up a seat. Julie, you have spent your career helping people navigate, I think, one of the biggest decisions in their life, and that is how they spend their working hours. What has made you realize that the connection between work life and personal life is key to happiness, really?
You know, I've always thought that, but it became a lot more obvious or a lot more urgent that we look to integrate the different sectors of our lives because of technology. We literally have no boundaries between work and home anymore. If you are working hybrid or you're working from home, or even if you're not, even if you're working in the office, the ability to reach you by others that you work with has never been greater, has never been more heightened. And so this idea that we used to walk home from work and put our purse or our bag down and then not think about it until the next day, we could do that. And so even if we hated our jobs, we at least had that respite from maybe 5 or 6 until the next morning. Now with our ability to be reachable 24/7 and some organizations and leaders not knowing boundaries, it is virtually impossible. So you always are living in that hum of, I hate my work. When are they going to reach out to me? And how fast do I have to respond? So there's really not a break, which to me means it's more important than ever that you like what you do, at least like it.
Even if you like it, though, I didn't expect to go down this little rabbit hole, but that's not cool.
It's
This
not.
is not cool that
It's
they
not.
can get us anywhere we go.
No.
And what is that fine line? How can someone create boundaries without creating jeopardy for their job?
I think it has to start with your leader, first of all. What behavior are they modeling? Are they texting you at 10 p.m. and expecting to hear back? Or are they just sending you things in the evening because it's a good time for them, but they really don't expect you to answer anything until the next day?
Right.
If it's the latter, then you have to train yourself to have boundaries, to not respond unless it's super urgent until the next day. But our temptation is, because we're so overwhelmed, our temptation is, I'm just going to answer this real quick. So we never really get a break because we think, well, I'm just going to have to answer it tomorrow. I might as well answer it tonight.
Right.
But that doesn't, and that also sends the message that I'm available 24/7. And it also never really gives you a break. Even if you like or love what you do, it's still really healthy to have mini breaks and then longer breaks from it as well.
Couldn't agree more. If I ruled the world, I would say that leadership that sends late night and early morning messages that seem like they want an immediate response ought to be demoted and sent back for training. Because truly, happy wife, happy life, happy employee, happy company,
and,
right?
and productivity and all that stuff goes up. But if you, even as a leader, if you say, you know what, sometimes you're going to get messages from me in your inbox late at night. That's the only time I have to do it. But please know that I do not expect you to respond. Same with on vacation.
Yeah.
Now, if you're a leader and you're away and you're constantly pinging your people, what are you teaching them?
Exactly. And you know, the other thing is they could schedule it.
Yeah.
They could schedule their messages,
Yep.
their text, their email. But anyway, I digress. So you and I are very fortunate that we know a lot of successful women that have very interesting careers, do very cool things. On paper, boy, they're major successes.
Yeah.
Yet some of them still aren't really in alignment. What's that phenomenon all about, and how can we get more aligned?
So the thing about alignment is, and by that I mean really feeling like you are in a good place in all the sectors of your lives, and those sectors support each other instead of being in conflict with each other. The key to remember here is the definition of successful alignment for you changes multiple times. We all know, if you have children or elderly parents, there are times in our lives that we have to shuffle around the emphasis we put on the sectors of our lives. But it's a constant act where we have to keep looking at what's most important to me right now, what needs my attention right now. But the trick is, as you're giving your attention to those sectors that really are pulling on you, you can never take your eye completely off the other ones.
It's a juggling act.
It all the time. And so there is no arrival. There is no destination. And sometimes, especially when I talk to younger women, they're very much, well, I still don't know what I want to do. I'm still not there. I still don't know what the answer is. I'm like, there is no answer. The answer changes because the questions change.
Right.
And your priorities change. And that is healthy. You just have to learn how to manage those.
But what are some of the signs that somebody is out of alignment, even if they might not realize it yet?
So the first thing I think it's really healthy to consistently be asking yourself, what's most important to me right now? One of my favorite phrases is, build your career around your life, not your life around your career.
Oh, I like that.
So being aware of what's most important to you and giving it all attention. So if you are working so much to the point that you're putting off doctor's appointments, you've got that lump somewhere and you just can't make time for it, or any of those health things that we put off, it'll go away. Men are worse at this, but women, I think, because we've been told that everybody else comes first, or we act that way.
Yeah.
We really do put our own health last. So if you are putting off those vital things that keep you a healthy human, that's a sign to step back. Get help somewhere. Decide not to do some things that maybe you're doing, and not everything must be done 100%. If you're responsible for the snacks at soccer or to bring the cupcakes to class, get them at the grocery store.
Right.
Stop putting pressure
Pick
on
'em up.
yourself to be all the things to everybody all the time. Because when that is your goal, you are naturally excluding yourself. And that is not good, not healthy in any way. And so how are you showing up in each of the sectors of your life that are a priority today, knowing in 5 years that may change?
That is, oh my gosh. So even if we're out of alignment and try and eke our way back in, even if we try and take care of ourselves again, the message I'm hearing from you is it is a constant juggling act.
It is.
Just face that.
It
just,
is.
Just make peace with that.
Yeah.
I can agree.
Just as a simple example, Amy, remember when your kids were like in junior high? Those were tough years.
Oh yeah.
But you could look ahead and say, well, in X years, they're going to be driving, which scares the crap out of you, but it also changes what is required of you as now that you have another driver in the house. So that's just one little example of how we need to be aware of those changes. Sometimes we're like the frog in the pot of boiling water, and we don't even realize our hair's on fire until it's too late. So I think that constant checking in with yourself and then being really creative about how you can partner with others, how you can get some help, how you can downshift in an area, knowing that it's not permanent. You'll be able to come back there at another time.
And even though it may not seem it all the time, you are in the driver's seat. You know, your upcoming book is about career pivots, and career pivots take a lot of guts. They take a lot of courage, and a lot of people are paralyzed and can't make a pivot. Talk about what led you to write this book and what you've learned through it.
So the book is called Career Happy, The Women's Guide to Embracing the Pivot at Any Age. And what drove me is that I realized some of the most interesting, happy women are women who understood that sometimes you need to make a change. But here's the trick. I think a lot of times when we talk about a career change or a pivot, we're thinking, oh my gosh, everything has to change.
Right.
We have to throw the baby in the bathwater out. Well, let's use an example. Maybe you are an accountant and you like it, but you work at an insurance company and you feel maybe a little bit stifled, or a bank. And you feel like maybe this isn't the culture for me, but what if I changed? What if I changed, I still did the same thing, but I did it someplace else? So what if I just changed my location? Or what if I really love the company and the culture I'm working with, but I move into a different role? What if I change from working full-time in the office to hybrid? So sometimes it's those little moves that really, really cause the best ripple effect that can really come back and impact your life. So this is not about saying, oh, I'm an attorney, now I'm going to go be a doctor. Sometimes we get really caught up in, but how would I do that? And what we realize is just the smallest little dial change can have an incredible effect on your life.
Incredible. What's that old adage about, if you're headed to the moon, and you get off target by just a fractional amount. By the time you get closer to the moon, you're actually way far from the moon.
Yeah.
It's like those little tiny tweaks can do so much. I think about when I've gotten a new role or a better role or something that fit me better. It is like a new outfit, a new lipstick, a new life online. You just feel so good. So how do you get over that fear?
So you've been a great pivoter. I mean, I think you've done some really, really great pivots. And I think what you've done is, what I would say is, at the core of every one of your pivots is you. And we think we have to become a different person. But remember that, think of it like a Rubik's Cube. Each of us is a Rubik's Cube. And as we twist it all the different ways, we get different patterns and pictures. And so we are all complex human beings. And so we might love what we do. I'm just going to do it elsewhere. I'm going to do a little bit different. I'm going to take some of this off my plate, put some of this on. So remember, you are in the driver's seat. You are the one who knows you the most. But sometimes we really struggle with that. So we think, well, who else would want me? What else could I do? Nobody. What goes on between our ears is the most crippling, and can also be the most positive change we make. But remember, you're at the core of everything you do, and it's okay to try out different sides of you, different interests, develop new interests over time, and leave some behind. Leave some behind. Sometimes been there, done that can apply to our careers as well.
Right, and it's okay to not look back, just keep going. How do you help people who might get praised or rewarded for certain behaviors or certain skills, but really help them discover what they're actually good at?
Yeah, you know what I love about what you just said is praise and recognition in the context of what you just said comes from the outside. So in that case, we are getting our juice from people around us. That's okay, but don't let that be the only thing that you use to measure and decide. So I think if you understand what you're really good at and what you really enjoy, sometimes feedback from others can either confirm that or it can make you question it a little bit. I can walk around all day saying I'm a great singer. The truth is I am not.
Julie, I was going to have to let you know.
I know, thank you. And so feedback from others, in that case, it matters. And so it's a combination of what do we know to be true about ourselves? What are we good at? What do we like to do? What's our feedback from others? Sometimes we're doing something we're really, really good at and we get tons of praise for, but we're burnt out. And if you work inside of a traditional organization, it is in their best interest to keep you in that role because it's good for them. And so when you say, you know, I'd like to try to do something different. Oh, but you're so valuable here. Oh, well, am I? Okay. And then you go back and you say, oh, I didn't make any changes there. So the inner, what you know about yourself, sort of those, like something about this feels off. I liked it a year ago. I don't like it now. The first thing you have to figure out is what changed. Did something change in your life or in you that's making it not so fun anymore? Did you used to work from home or work hybrid and now you're required to go in the office 8 to 5 days a week?
Right.
Did something change in your workplace? Did you get a new leader? So what has changed? I say it's like going to the doctor and saying, I hurt. She's going to say to you, well, where do you hurt? Tell me more about it. So I don't like my job. I'm unhappy at work. There's not a solution embedded in that. You have to figure out why. Then you figure out what you can change. Sometimes you can change it where you are, which is great. But sometimes it's time to move on. And so you've got to listen to that internal bell. If it starts to ring, answer it.
Listen, yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I'm hearing, a theme from you, that, you know, you have to pay attention, you have to be introspective, you have to think about what resonates for you. You are, as we said earlier, in the driver's seat.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of times people think if they want to go after a career that they love or an opportunity that they love, it requires sacrifice. Or, you know, maybe they're going to pay me less, but I can get in what I want. Or, oh, I've got to give it my all. Well, you do have to give it your all. But can you have success and all that comes with it without giving up a lot?
You know, I think back to when I left Human Resources. I had a big office, I had like a VP title, and I was miserable. And I went to start as a part-time consultant in the career coaching world, where I had no office. I had sat on a corner of a big table in the mailroom to do my paperwork. And I was so happy. And so when you ask, did I give up a title in a corner office? Yes, but I didn't care about those things anymore. So ask yourself, what am I really giving up, and do I care? And do I care only because what are people going to think of me? Or do I, and you get to a point sometimes where it's like, no, I'm so miserable, I don't care what they call me.
You know, you said, oh, what are people going to think? You mentioned, as you were talking to women about your book, the pivot. People will be like, oh, what will people say? What will they say? And you offer some tough love when they say that to you. Well, how do you respond to that?
So yes, this and actually this story is in the book about a group of women who were trying to get to the next level in their lives and at work. And it was at a community organization in town. And this woman was so wanted to, she had so many things holding her back, but really wanted to make the next step in her career, to be a role model to her kids, to all this. She goes, I just get really, really caught up in, what will they think? What will people think? I said, who? You know, people. Like, who? I said, well, you know, people. And she was getting frustrated with me, so I gave her a piece of paper and a pen. I said, write their names down.
I love that.
Well, and then she got it. I said, so what you're telling me is these nameless, faceless people who you are putting more stock in what they think than you are in what you know to be true about yourself. Why are you giving nameless, faceless people that power under the heading of they or people? Right. Really break it down. She's like, okay. But those are the kind of things we say to ourselves. Those are the things that make us feel safe.
And it's also that spotlight effect.
Yeah.
We think everybody's thinking about us, but guess what? They are not.
No.
You know, they're thinking about their own career,
Yeah.
their own family, their own relationships, their own income, you know, all of that. It's like, don't let the nameless, faceless they make decisions for you.
No.
Well, what does impact really look like in a career today? How do we make impact in our career?
Yeah. So I talk about, you know, knowing your value and being clear where you want to focus that value to make the impact you want to make in the world. And for some of us, it is maybe a higher calling. It is, I want to make an impact in this area, maybe of a human need. Others, it might be in the arts. It might be among elementary school kids or my family. It might just be to bring home a steady paycheck so my kids get a good education. So why do you do what you do? And I always ask people like about their jobs. They say, what if you weren't there to do your job, what would not get done, and then what would happen as a result? If the answer is nothing, I think you need a new job. So if you've got, let's say you're really good at marketing, really good, like you're a really genius marketer, you really know how to focus in. Does it matter to you where you work and what you do and what you're marketing, or does it not? No wrong answers. Let's say you go work for a cheese company and your goal is to help them sell more cheese. That's okay. There's no judgment there. But you might be in marketing and say you work for this cheese company for 5 to 7 years. And then you get done and you say, it's time for me to move on. I want to do something that matters more. People will say, I want to go work for a nonprofit. You got to just like break that down and say, well, instead of saying that, tell me what kind of impact you want to make. Well, you know, I've been really involved in this, in blood donation, organ donation. And so you might say, I'm going to take my incredible skills, I'm going to apply it elsewhere to something I care about. And we all care about different things. And so there's no right or wrong.
Right.
And so if you're going to say, I'm an excellent marketer, I'm going to apply it to our region's blood bank. I'm going to apply it to the area's arts association because that matters to me. That's about identifying your value and using it to make the impact you want to make in your world. And we get so caught up in, it's got to be big. It's got to be, I got to end world hunger. I got to be doing big things. No, it doesn't. It doesn't. That matters to you.
That is such an important statement. Everybody isn't going to be front page news. And some of the most fulfilled lives are of those small, quiet moments and careers that no one is going to write a book on or whatever, but
Yeah.
they are still able to make impact. I think that's really key. So, you mentioned, stay at a job, you're at this marketing job for 5 to 7 years. What happened to the lifelong career? Is that a reality
No.
anymore?
Gone.
What should we really expect?
In the past, you and I grew up, and we were moving in our careers, when we grew up as adults, moving in our careers. Companies were, you went to work for them, and generally you stayed for quite a while. Mm-hmm. And you could, back in the 70s and 80s, when you started in the workforce, and before, you could conceivably go someplace and stay for 30, 40 years till you get the gold watch and the big cake in the conference room. Well, in the 90s, these big layoffs started. Big companies started having layoffs. I was like, what? Because up until then, if you were not in a job anymore, the assumption was poor performance.
Right.
Right. And so there was this stigma with losing your job. Starting in the 90s, we started to see these massive layoffs. Then right after 9/11, there was a real downturn in the economy, 2008. So we have had ups and downs in the last few decades, and it's never going away. The only solution to that is to understand that your career is yours to manage, not expecting your company to make those decisions and make those moves for you. It is you. And so someone comes to you and says, Amy, I think you'd be really good doing this. And you look at it and go, oh, thanks, but I don't really think that's well aligned with what I want to do. Now, sometimes we don't have a choice. But understanding that truly in the past, you were sitting in the back seat and you kind of, someone told you you should go over here, you should do this, you just did it. Now we have to say, you know what, I'm going to stay as long as it makes sense for me to stay. At that point, I'm going to move on because guess what? Your employer is thinking exactly the same way. They will keep you around until they don't need you anymore, until they've decided they'll be just fine without you. And then they're going to go forward without you. And as hard as that is to get our mind around, the younger generations get this, which is why people, they're not loyal. Like, well, I don't blame them.
Right, because the companies aren't loyal.
Yeah. So for older generations, this is really hard. Because they're like, wait a minute, you pulled the rug out from under me. Things changed. Things are never going back to the way they were. Never.
Right.
You will constantly, you might go from self-employment to work for a company, back to self-employment to work for a small firm, to work for a large firm. I think that's wildly healthy, and it gives us a big canvas to paint on.
Which is actually freeing.
Yes.
If you were to leave everybody with thoughts about their own next chapter, encouraging thoughts about their own next chapter, what might that be?
Find ways to learn so much about yourself, what you're good at, what you're great at, what you're valued for, and just lock into that.
So what do you personally do? What little rituals or habits do you have to keep yourself healthy, sane, calm, centered?
So anybody who knows the Enneagram knows I'm a 7, which means I'm always happy. So happiness is my default. But so I will ask myself, am I happy? And if not, is it temporary? Checking in with yourself. I do that. And then also as a 7, it's harder for us to go straight through the tough times. And the last decade or so, I have really made a point of allowing myself to sit with feelings that aren't so positive and knowing that they will pass, that the super ball will bounce back up. And just being realistic about that and knowing that's just part of being human. So for me, it's the self-talk, because Enneagrams, 7s are in their head. And so I have to really think hard about what's not working, what can I change, and be willing to be incredibly agile and try things. And know that some of the things I try, or some of the things that sound appealing on the surface, aren't going to be for me, and being okay with that and moving on to the next thing.
I see that in you. I mean, you do that sometimes. You'll make an occasional big swing and decide, nope, you know what, after all? And that's awesome, not to feel like you have to, because what will they say?
Yeah.
Well, leave us with this today, Julie. The older you get, the more you realize what?
There is no they. The core of everything you do should start from inside of you. Now, that doesn't mean that you're going to be wildly selfish and put everybody else last. One of my favorite things that I've really come to is the word selfless versus the word selfish. How often do you hear a man described as selfless? Like, never. It's always used as a compliment. Oh, she's so selfless. My grandmother put everybody else first. She was so selfless. And I always think to myself, she was probably quite resentful as well.
Yeah.
And so I don't think there are times when we need to think about our own needs unapologetically. And I think I came to that and being able to articulate that much later than I wish I would have. But now that I have it, I'm like telling everybody who'll listen, it's okay. There are times when we do need to be selfless. There are plenty of times when we're gladly selfless. But don't make your whole life about selflessness, because you're going to end up resentful and bitter.
Good stuff. As always, you are just a wealth of information. And the name of the book again?
Career Happy, The Women's Guide to Embracing the Pivot at Any Age, out in January.
That's amazing. Julie Bauke, thank you so much for joining me on Amy's
Of course.
Table. Thanks for joining us today, and thanks to our sponsors too, Wow Window Boxes, High Street, and Jenny Simon Face. Please subscribe to Amy's Table and share this conversation with a friend. Follow along for more inspiration, gatherings, and everyday ideas from our community. Until next time, keep looking for the good, keep making room for connection, and remember, there's always a seat for you at Amy's Table.